Hey guys, so I'm doing a reading on this Meg the Stallion Nicki Minaj situation. I'm sure that y'all have seen it all over social media. Meg put out a song, and one of the lines or one of the lyrics allegedly was aimed at Nicki. I mean, she didn't say any names, but people could put two and two together who she was talking about. Nicki didn't take too kindly to that, and she put out her own diss track, and she also was talking a lot about Meg on social media, like on Twitter. It was a whole big thing. Go look it up if you haven't seen it. But I wanted to do a quick reading on it, and as always, I'm going to keep this reading as neutral as possible, as unbiased as possible. And also, these celebrity readings or these like current event readings, I don't do them from a place of gossip, like, oh, let's find out what's going on, like let's see into their personal life. Like, I don't get too in detail about personal things that they have going on behind the scenes. My guides don't show me those things, but these readings are more so for us as the collective, because usually when celebrities play out a drama for the world to see, it's usually a message within whatever they're going through for us to evolve as people as well. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, that's what these readings are for. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So we're going to start with Nicki's energy first. So she's coming up as the strength card in reverse and also the rebirth card. So these are two of the same card, literally, but they're from two different decks. So they came out like right after one after another. So Nicki is feeling extremely disempowered, like just feeling like she has lost, I don't want to say that she's lost her power, but like it's an ego thing, because the strength card and the rebirth card are literally the Leo card, and it's in the reverse. So it's more like when your ego is deeply, deeply hit, and then you just start lashing out and going on a rampage. And I talked about this on my Twitter as well. I actually tweeted about this, how in the past I've definitely experienced like having an ego hit, like something happened to where my ego was majorly hit, and I just went on a rampage, and I was so self-destructive. And when it was over with, it took me months and months and months to rebuild like all the damage that I had done. But it's like when your ego gets hit like that unexpectedly, sometimes your reaction to it can just be over the top, because there's like this feeling of powerlessness that comes with your ego being hit. It's like this feeling of worthlessness that comes with it. It's a lot that goes into it. And our ego, it's not something that is a bad thing. Like, I know, in the spiritual community, they talk about how you need to have an ego death. And sometimes the ego death is necessary. But if your ego is healthy, there's nothing wrong with having an ego. It's only when your ego is a little bit shaky and then you experience an ego hit that you'll start to like see the negative side of having an ego. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm seeing. I just keep on hearing like, how dare you? How dare you? Nicki is feeling just completely disrespected, because her ego identity is that she is, the queen of rap, that she is like this successful woman that is, deserving of respect. Like, that's what her ego says that she is. And again, all of us have an ego, and all of us have a identity that comes with our ego, right? So I'm not saying, oh, she has an ego, like she's the queen of rap, like in a bad way. All of us have something that we identify with that is attached to our ego. Like, for example, you'll see on social media a lot with astrologers. I pointed this out one time, that astrologers, sometimes their whole ego is wrapped up in how much astrology knowledge they have. So you'll notice that when they are talking to people about astrology, they can become very condescending, and they can try to correct you, and like they can just get really rude and disrespectful. And that's an example of someone who has a weak ego, like a very fragile ego, and they've built it off of astrology knowledge. So in order to protect their fragile ego, they have to continuously be looking down on other people as less knowledgeable than them. You know what I'm saying? So that's an example of like an unhealthy ego. But then a healthy ego could be someone who identifies as like a leader. You know what I'm saying? They know that they are a leader in some way, and so they take on that role and they do it very well, and they help a lot of people. that's an example of like an identity that's wrapped up around their ego. So ego does not have to be a bad thing is what I'm trying to say. But anyway, so her ego identity is that she's the queen of rap, that she's deserving of respect, that like, people should bow down to her, especially women in the rap industry. They should bow down to her. And she has felt over the years that that has not been happening. So it's going up against her ego. Her ego is saying, I am the queen. I am the best. I am deserving of this respect. Everyone needs to come into the game respecting me. That's what her ego says. And it's like people are coming in and they're doing the opposite of that. So her ego is taking hits, because what the ego wants to do is that the ego wants to match what it tells you with your external reality. So if your ego is like, I'm the prettiest woman on earth, your ego wants to validate that. And when another pretty woman comes to the room and people start paying more attention to her than you, your ego is going to start to get out of, like, it's going to start to malfunction a little bit. Like, wait, my ego said I was the prettiest. And then here comes this prettier person coming in, and now you're experiencing an ego wound. And then you might try to like sabotage that girl or, things like that. You see what I'm saying? So the ego wants to be validated. The ego wants the external reality to match what you think you are in your head. And when that doesn't happen, it can be very disempowering and it can be very painful. So I feel like that's what happened to Nicki over the years. It feels like the female rappers were coming in and they may have respected her, but they were not about to bow down and kiss up to her. There were some that was willing to do that, but there were others who were like, no, I'm not doing that. And that in itself was an ego hit. And then on top of that, there was that whole weird time period where there was like a big hate train against Nicki. That was just such a strange time. It's like, it was publicly like accepted to just bash her and slander like everyone. It was a really weird time. And that's before like any of the major drama and controversy about her even started. So there was really even no excuse for that. I don't know. It's weird when I think back to that time period. But yeah, it's like her ego has just been taking hit after hit after hit. And this was like the last straw for her, especially because Megan dropped her song during the Leo full moon. And just like I said in my Leo full moon video, you have to be mindful of your ego and responding from a place of ego. I said that in my full moon video. And then the next day, the whole Nicki and Meg drama like exploded the day after I uploaded that video. So the Leo full moon definitely had people more in their feelings when it comes to getting their ego hit and just lashing out and being very like dramatic, because drama is also like a trait of Leo. Doesn't have to be a bad thing. Drama can be a good thing as well, of course, but there's the shadow side to being dramatic. And it can come out as like really lashing out and not really caring about how it makes you look, not really caring about the consequences, just lashing out because your ego has taken a very strong hit. So the next two cards out are the Knight of Swords and the Past Lives card. Oh, also what I'm seeing with these two cards is that Nicki wants to be the type of person that like people are afraid to ever dare like say something about her. Like she wants that type of power and respect to where people would never dare put like a song, like a line in a rap, or like would dare speak on her. Like she wants to be that. She feels like she's deserving of that type of respect. So it's the fact that people are like doing the opposite of it. Yeah, she's not happy about that at all. The Knight of Swords here is here in the reverse, and also the Past Lives card as well. So I'm getting an interesting message with this, because I'm not seeing that the Past Lives card is like actually talking about a past life. I feel like it's talking about this life, but it's talking about the past. It feels like there was some sort of exchange of words like behind the scenes. So I'm wondering if like her and Meg have already exchanged words, or have already like had some sort of unpleasant communication behind the scenes, or like I heard it through the grapevine. So it could be like somebody playing telephone, like somebody going to tell Nicki something that Meg said, or somebody going to tell Meg what Nicki said, like something behind the scenes is what I'm seeing here. Yeah, there's some sort of backstory to this that I feel like we as the public don't really know. But I also, you know what's interesting too, though? I also see the Knight of Swords card as somebody who, like, mentally, they're just imbalanced because of the fact that they've just been going through too much and it's been piling up and piling up and piling up. So I kind of see that, like, Nicki, like, kind of snapped, like, she reached her breaking point. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing for that. Um, So we have the Nine of Pentacles in reverse, and we have the Politics card here in reverse as well. So Nicki is going to continue to do exactly what she's doing. The Politics card in reverse is someone who is very, very upfront and blunt. So she's going to continue to be that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up, like, spilling the tea about somebody else or, like, some other people in the industry, because it's like the Politics card in reverse is like, nope, I'm not being politically correct anymore. I'm not going to try to, like, keep it cute anymore. Like, I'm going to say whatever I need to say, and I don't care what the consequences will be. I don't care if it'll affect my money. I don't care if it'll affect my business. I don't care if it'll affect my reputation. I don't It's like she doesn't care is what I'm seeing. She does not care. She's like, nope, nope, nope. I'm going to say whatever I want to say. Let me pull one more. You know what this reminds me of? This energy reminds me of, like, Azealia Banks, how it's like Azealia Banks is just, she's known for saying, like, these outrageous things, and it got to a point where people just kind of expect that of her. You see what I'm saying? It's like once you say one outrageous thing and people are like, oh my gosh, like, she's so bold. That's so controversial. But then when you're constantly saying things and everything you say is bold and controversial, it's like that becomes your identity. That becomes what you're known for. And, you know, it's not like a big deal anymore. That's kind of what I'm seeing for Nicki. It's like this is like the beginning of her just being completely like, yeah, I'm going to say whatever I want to say. And I think people are going to kind of get used to that. Like, she's always been that way, but I feel like it's going to be turned up a notch, if that makes sense. Hold on, that Knight of Swords card is really, like, bothering me because it's like a message trying to come through and I don't know. Let me see. Patience in reverse, Knight of Swords. Yeah, I feel like her current energy is that she's just not, like, mentally, she's not well. Like, her thoughts are all over the place with this Knight of Swords. Like, this reminds me of someone who's, like, really, really overstimulated and their thoughts are just racing and they're just, like, her energy is just really, like, chaotic. Like, her thoughts are really chaotic is what I'm seeing. Like, her fuse is short. She's pissed off. She doesn't have time for any BS. Like, she's just, like, her energy, I don't know how to explain it. Her energy is just very chaotic right now. It's very, like, impulsive and chaotic. And it's mostly because her thoughts are just racing. Let me pull one more. Transformation. Yeah, because, okay, it's interesting because one of my favorite astrologers, her name is iJade on Twitter. She was talking about how she talks a lot about, like, transformation and how when you are deeply triggered, it's because there's a part of you that needed to die. And it's interesting because I said the same thing, actually. I think I tweeted something similar where I said that when your ego takes a hit, it's because that part of you needs to die. Or that part of you either needs love or that part of you needs to die. So, like I said before, let's go back to the example of you feel like you have to be the prettiest, right? Because your ego is wrapped up in, I'm pretty, I'm the prettiest, right? And then another person comes to the room and they are more pretty than you. They're prettier. And it hits your ego bad. So you can do two things at that point. You can let that aspect of your ego die and stop identifying as, like, I'm the prettiest. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not healthy anyway. That's not something stable to build a foundation on. So you can let that part of you die, or you could give that part of you love to where you get down to the root of why do you even need to feel like you're the prettiest in the first place. I mean, and that's kind of the same thing, because once you give that part of you love, that part of you is most likely going to die off because you don't need that ego defense anymore. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I'm seeing. It's like Nicki is needing to have an ego death to where she kind of transforms. Like, she lets go of this idea in her mind that she has to be, like, the only female rapper, the biggest female rapper, the queen, the one that everybody bows down to, if she shifted into a new ego identity, then she would feel much better, and like this energy would die, like her, how much mental pressure and emotional pressure she has on her would die with it. But I feel like that's going to be so difficult to do because having an ego death is already painful. But when you're in the public eye, that's even more painful to have an ego death in the public eye. Like being a celebrity and trying to have an ego death, releasing the identity of being like the best of the best in your career and like you're world famous, like that's a major ego death. That would be so difficult to do. That would be so difficult to do. So she either has to let that part of her die or she has to give that part of her love. Like, meaning ask herself, why does she feel like she needs to be the only female rapper, or why she feels like she needs to be the best, or why she feels like the other rappers need to bow down? What's at the root of that? Because that feels like an ego defense, you know what I'm saying? And once you get to the root of that and give that part of you love, then that part of you, it starts to wither away, and then it won't cause as much pain and it won't cause as much of the mental distress, is what I'm seeing. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. With the past life card being here too, I feel like this also could be that Nicki experienced this in a past life, or something similar to this in a past life, where maybe she had fame and she, like, the fame, the way that she handled the fame in her last life is repeating in this lifetime, and she's supposed to kind of break the cycle this lifetime, is what I'm seeing. Something along those lines. So let's look at Meg's energy. Let me write down the timestamp so I can put it in later. Okay, so Meg's energy, we have the Hanged Man card and the Letting Go card. So the Hanged Man card lets me know again that there had to be some sort of something that went on behind the scenes with her and Nicki. There has to be. There's no way. Like, this is someone who was like sitting and thinking about something that someone did, and they can't let it go. They keep on thinking about it. And I think it's not just Nicki though. I think that whoever else she was referring to in that song, they majorly pissed Meg off, and she like lost sleep over the things that they said and the things that they did. And so she didn't appreciate that. And so she needed a way to transmute that energy, meaning she needed a way to release that energy, because she was really holding on tightly to like the resentment and the anger of what they did. So this song helped her transmute it. She let it out, and like she feels much better now, is what I'm seeing. But yeah, there was something that went on behind the scenes for sure, that Meg was like really stewing in it. Like, it pissed her off bad. And this is her way of like getting it off her chest. This is her way of transmuting the energy and releasing it completely. Yeah, I mean, creative outlets are a good way to transmute. I feel like I do this too with my YouTube channel. I started my YouTube channel based off this, literally, like the same exact energy where I got discarded by that narcissist. We all know the story. And I was stewing in my anger, and like, oh my God, I couldn't let it go that this man had bamboozled me the way he did, and he had discarded me the way he did. Like, it was bad, and I couldn't release the anger and the rage. So I started a YouTube channel, and I told my story on YouTube, and then I just kept building my channel from there. So that's a great way to transmute, is by telling your story, or like having some sort of creative outlet you can channel it through. And you know, that's what Meg did. And Meg is an Aquarius, and people have this idea that Aquarians are detached, which is true in a way, but Aquarius is also fixed air. And air, the air element, is about the mind. It's about mental, and fixed is like fixated, like being stuck. So Aquarians get stuck on a thought, and they can get obsessed with a thought. So once our thoughts, like once it seeps into our thoughts, like something that you've done to hurt us, it's going to replay over and over and over. It is. And then Meg is a Taurus rising and a Leo moon. Yeah, those are all fixed signs, right? Yeah, Meg, she holds on to things. Like, she's not the type that's going to just let something go. She has to transmute it in some way. She has to address it in some way, or transmute it. I think her preferred method is to put it in music. she doesn't really strike me as the confrontational, like go to you and yell at you, cuss you out about it. Like she'd rather put it in a song, is what I'm seeing. So the next two cards for Meg, we have the slowing down card and we have the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. Yeah, she, oh my gosh. She feels like her work here is done. Like that's what I'm hearing. My work here is done. I did what I needed to do. Not, just so no one gets confused, I'm not saying she's quitting music or anything. When I say my work here is done, it's kind of like there's this satisfaction. Like I said what I need to say. I did what I needed to do. That's it. I don't have to focus on this anymore. That's it. Yeah, she transmuted it. She's moving on. She's moving on. And I think that like even Nicki like lashing out and making the song and talking about it on Twitter, Meg's energy just feels like okay. Like shrug. Like that's the kind of energy that I'm getting, like a shoulder shrug. Yeah. Let me pull one more card. Yeah, Meg's energy is very like it's calm. It's like a very calm energy, while Nicki's energy is coming off as more like chaotic and like frantic, and Meg's energy is definitely like a very slow moving, like calm energy right now. Let me pull one more. Okay, we have the Mind card. Let me pull one more. The Creator. Okay, so there is definitely, hold on, because I'm picking up now that there is something that's still in Meg's energy that's still bothering her. I think she transmuted like a lot of what she was carrying, but I think there's still some things like internally that she still is having a hard time letting go of. So, okay, let me just make this clear so it doesn't get confusing. When it comes to her energy towards Nicki, I'm seeing a very like slow moving energy, or like a very calm energy, meaning that she doesn't seem very bothered by whatever Nicki has said or the distract. Meg is not coming across as bothered, even though I do feel like she's bothered by some of the things that have been said. But I think that it's more so like things that maybe have been said by the fans. I mean, that have been repeated by the fans. So I know that Nicki mentioned like Meg's mother. So maybe it's like how the fans are now like also speaking on Meg's mother. I think that like that's an example of like something that was said that could bother her, while overall the situation doesn't necessarily bother her. Does that make sense? There's something else like in like within her energy that she's still healing from. So it's kind of like I have bigger fish to fry. Like I have bigger things to eat, to heal from, to worry about, than to be worried about this. That's what I'm seeing. Let me pull one more. I also think that I'm seeing that Meg just had Meg just has the urge, and it's interesting because Meg is a full moon baby. She's an Aquarius sun, Leo moon, and she dropped that during Aquarius season, during the Leo moon. Crazy. But I also just think that with the Mind card being here and the Creator card in the reverse, Meg is also like, it's like she's moving very strategically is what I'm seeing. So if her energy gets to a point where she feels like her mind is racing or she feels triggered, she's not going to act on it. It's like a very strategic, slow moving energy. Like whatever she does is going to be, everything that she's doing is strategic. Whatever she does moving forward is strategic. She's not going to just act on, like, even if her mind does start to think negative, she's not just going to, or if she does start to feel triggered, she's not just going to act on it. She's not, with the Creator card in the reverse. And that kind of gives her the upper hand in this situation. Let me pull one more. But yeah, I see also the Inner Voice card is here, and I see the Nine of Swords card. Yeah, Meg is still healing from something. She's still healing from something. So this, whatever's going on with Nicki Minaj, like I said, I feel like she may be bothered by some aspects of it, but overall, I'm not getting the energy of her being too focused on it or too bothered by it, because there's something else that she's still recovering from. So it's like, it's one of those things where like someone is attacking you and you're like, please, like I have Like there's stuff going on behind the scenes with me that like is way worse than whatever you got going on over there. You know what I'm saying? It's like that sort of energy. Yeah, there's a lot of like pain that Meg has that she's having a hard time releasing. I feel like the parts of her pain that she could release into a song, she did. So it's like she feels better. But there's just certain parts of her pain that I feel like it's not going to be able to be put into a song, or it's hard for her to transmute it. This could be like grief, still excuse me, still grieving the loss of her loved ones, which that would make sense because like that never goes away. Like you can't just put that in a song and then you feel better about it. So that could be what I'm seeing here, is her still trying to recover from that, or like there being some just like overall some sort of grief, something that keeps her up at night. So it makes me feel like she's not really that bothered by what's going on with the Nicki situation, because there's something else deeper that she's focused on. Yeah, I feel like it keeps her up at night. And I feel like she masks it by working. Laziness in reverse. Like she runs from it. Whatever the feeling is, whatever the thoughts are, she runs from it through like her career, like through focusing on work. But I do think that she is in need of like some very deep healing. I mean, she's been through a lot in the public eye, so I mean, that doesn't shock me. Let me pull one more. The source. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Meg goes on some sort of spiritual journey with the source card being here. I wouldn't be surprised if she turns to spirituality, or starts coming out with more, like speaking more on spiritual topics, like getting closer to God. I think that's either where she's headed or where it's recommended that she goes. Because yeah, her career is booming, obviously, and it's going to continue to rise, her career. But I just see that whatever is still plaguing her internally, the career is not going to mask it. The career is not going to take it away. So I feel like this is saying she's going to turn to God, or she needs to turn to God, or like to dive more into like her spiritual practices. You know what? Oh my God. I forgot that me and Meg are the same rising sign. So because she's a Taurus rising, the North Node is currently in our 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of spirituality. So the North Node transiting her 12th house is literally directly telling her that she needs to turn to spirituality, turn to spiritual healing, turn to God. And that's where she's going to find the most abundance. It's not going to be in work. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. I be forgetting that we have the same rising sign. The south node for Taurus rising, the south node is literally in our 6th house right now. So we're supposed to be focusing less on work and more on spirit. Like getting to know God more, diving more into our spiritual practices, and not trying to use work to bypass it. That's what I'm seeing. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. I think that's what she's going to end up doing. And if she does this, she's going to find a lot of peace in a way that she hasn't felt in a very long time. If she turns away from like using work as an escape, and instead, turns to God for deep healing. So just to recap with Meg, it feels to me like her energy towards Nicki, like she's not really rattled by everything that has gone on. There's some of the things that were said that obviously like is sticking with her, because it was a lot of like, low blows that were hit and things like that. But I just feel like she's not that bothered, but there's still deep pain that she's harboring that needs to be healed. So I think that's what she's going to be turning her energy and focus onto, or she needs to do that. And I see her being just very slow moving and strategic, meaning that even if things do escalate to the point where she's triggered, she's not going to like publicly react on it. She's going to move in a very strategic way, respond in a very strategic way. That's what I'm seeing. So yeah, that's it. I hope that, you got something out of this reading. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next reading.